All right, welcome back, Navarra. I hope I'm saying that right. Very fun circuit to drive. First time for me driving it. It's been on a shorter version has been on the fixed circuit. So if you've looked at the thumbnail, it is a very technical track, very difficult to learn. If you think you are going to get into a practice session a half an hour before a race and learn this track, you are not. You are going to become a mass murderer on track. This one is going to take a lot of practice, so check out this guide. Hopefully that'll shorten the practice time. It did take me a while to really dial in the track itself and also get a setup worked up where I wanted it. However, actually the setup I am pretty happy with. So give it a try. If you are new to the channel, new to the raid this season, um, my my opinion of the iRacing setups is pretty much standard. I don't like them. So I've worked up my own setup here. So we'll get into the setup. Ride height minus 16, so pretty darn low. Minus 15 in the back just to keep the rake at the right angle. ARB 0, of course, you do not want understeer here. Damper compression left at 20. Brake bias. Now, brake bias, I always just say that's an individual thing. However, this one we got to we got to talk about a little bit. So normally I would be at 56.5 for this track. That's the point at which locking up the brakes is starting to become a factor. Uh, However, I did find with a 56.5%, the weight transfer was not very good. So I did move it back up to 57%. So whatever your normal brake bias is, whatever you're comfortable with, I would suggest maybe try giving it just a 0.5% up from where you would normally put it, and see how that works out. It made quite a difference for me. I'm talking about probably 1 or 2 tenths time difference. It was quite surprising how much the weight transfer changed. This track has a lot of uphill and downhill braking zones, and I think that's probably something to do with it. So, getting into the meat of it, spring rates as soft as they go, front and back, left and right. And for those of you who know my channel, good news, camber is the same all around. 1.2 in the front, uh, a lot of off camber corners, not really off camber, but a little bit off camber, and just having more tire on the track I found gave me better lap time. Toe in is minus 1.4. That is because there is more tire on the track, so the car isn't as sharp as it normally would be, so that toe is turned up. That also helps with braking efficiency and tire temp. And again, spring rate slow as they go in the rear. Camber minus 1, again just having more tire on the track, and toe in plus 0.3 in the rear. In the bottom half here, so yeah, minus 15 ride height, ARB is 5. Um, as I get a little better through this in the week, I might change that up to a 10. If you do like the car a little bit more tail happy, a little more rotation in the car, you definitely may want to try a 10. It's pretty darn good as is, but 10 may give you a little bit more rotation. There may be a little bit more time to be had uh, with a 10, but I'm not confident I can keep the car from spinning out with a 10. Fuel level, that's so I am running it at 12. 12 will get you to the end. However, if you've seen the iRacing update, standing start races are supposed to have a just a in the background AI formation lap now, so you don't start with as ice cold tires and brakes. I don't know if that counts towards one lap of your fuel, or if you start the race with 12 liters after the formation lap. I'm not quite sure how that works. So you might be safer to try 13 liters. I think that's what I'm going to do with the start of the race. And gear stack is standard um, through the first turn, the long straight. Standard as you do reach the rev limit. However, through the rest of the track, it feels really good. And again, you're at the rev limit there just for a short time before you get onto the brakes. So standard is where it is at. So track temp is 21. According to this is a personal testing session. It's not an official scheduled session, but the iRacing schedule says it's going to be in the morning. Track temp is going to be 21, but I can't swear by that. Testing is 12%, so not particularly good. So we'll get into the laps here in slow-mo and then run it out at full speed. So coming into the, I guess this is turn 1 maybe, but through the whole turn 1 section, basically a controlled crash almost. So turning in, you don't have to hit this apex. In fact, it's probably better to avoid it. You want to come at this getting the car lined up on the left hand side, right up against the red and white curbs here. You don't want to be on them. I found getting on them is way too disruptive, and looking for this kink in the barrier, and that's the braking marker. Shifting down into third gear, a pretty good blast of brakes to slow the car down. It's easy to spin out here, it's easy to run wide. None of those things are good. And again, getting close to the apex here, but not really too tight to it. In third gear, just managing the throttle, and again, you want to get to the left hand side here as close as you dare to the red and white, but don't cross them. I can't cross it and not spin the car out or compromise your braking. And then basically there's no marker, but as soon as you get the wheel straight, getting on the brakes, shifting down into first gear, hard on the brakes, and then turning in. This is a late apex, so don't turn in too early, and then getting onto the red and white here, just grazing it with your tire, or I might have missed this actually. Ideally you want to just graze that with your tire. Came a little wide, and then picking up the throttle nice and early. Now these curbs through this whole track have a lot going on. These red and green with the drainage, I'm guessing, in between them, you can get on them and over them. Cold tires, they can be a little disruptive. I tried increasing the ride height for some of these nastier curbs, but it did not really make a difference, so kept the car nice and low. So getting out into mid-track, second gear, working your way up in to third to fourth eventually, and again this is a flat one that you can cut the corner here a little bit, so do that. Run the car out wide. So fourth gear, this one you want to turn in earlier than you think. So just before that white bit here, just lifting, but turning in at that white bit. And it is important, just manage the throttle here, a little bit of throttle just to keep this back end happy. This is a fast corner, and it is easy to lose the back end. It is uphill and the back end can get light here. And keeping it right up tight against this white. If you are out wide here, there is no real camber to the corner, and it is so easy to spin out. So really watch out for that if you're on the outside trying to do a pass or getting past. And then shifting down into third, just kind of as you come around the bend here, there's no real great marker to it. Shifting down into third, when you hear the revs starting to drop, shift down into third. And then just managing the throttle again. You can lose it out here, especially on cold tires, so just watch the throttle management there. Ideally a little bit further over to the right, but again not onto that red and white stuff. And basically, depending on your field of view, looking for the end of the barrier on the left here. Going to shift down into second, little dab of brakes. Well, more than a dab, I guess. Not braking too hard though, and then just managing the throttle. You don't want to lose the back end here, and getting onto the red and white curb, but do not cross over. There's a number of curbs like this. You've seen them before on some other tracks. They have a very good lip to them. It will grab your tire, snatch your tire, and it's gonna be big trouble. So on there as much as you dare without going over, and then picking up the throttle in second gear. Getting onto this green stuff, if you come out here before the green stuff, it is an X, but not the end of the world. It's no slowdown. And then I got stuck on this green stuff a little bit too much. It's not an X, but I was on the curbs here a little too much, a little too disruptive, so just watch out for that. Not the end of the world, but it did cost a little time. So looking for this 50 board, up into third gear for a short time, looking at that 50 board, gonna shift down into first. It does feel like you can brake later on this. I mean, if this track was flat right now, you certainly could, but it is downhill, and the further you get down this track and the later you brake, the less effective the braking is. So really it's important to brake at the right time to make this corner, otherwise you are going to spin. And down into first, and again just picking up the throttle here nice and early. Another bit of a late apex, getting onto the curbs but not over onto that nasty stuff. And then more curb stuff. Big green section here looks nice and wide open. It is not. So this second layer of curbs has again that very nasty lip. If you go over that, it grabs your tires. It is actually hard to get back on track. Very nasty. Computer says no, do not cross that second set of curbs there. Do not get onto the flat green stuff. So up into fourth gear for a short time, gonna brake between the 100 board and this flag marker. So I don't know what that is, maybe 80, something like that. Hard on the brakes, down into first gear. Again, it is downhill. If you brake too late, you are in trouble. It is not gonna work so good. Down into first, releasing the brakes, getting onto the red and white, and then picking up the throttle nice and early. It's again another late apex, and this is a green section you can use. So this track requires some practice to remember where you can and where you can't cross. I did not cross it, however it is there if you need it. Shifting up into second and then pulling the car back over to the right, getting onto these curbs. Again, they're pretty flat, not too disruptive, just cutting the corner here a little bit because you do want to get over to the right in order to open this next corner up. And basically you're looking for the start of the white, or actually just past the white. In real time it looks like I'm braking at the red, at the start of the red here, but I'm braking just slightly before in slow-mo. Down into first gear. Again, another late apex, hard on the brakes, and then just releasing the brakes, getting on, just grazing the red and white curb here. It is elevated, it is a little disruptive. Picking up the throttle, and again, you can use all of the green stuff on this one as well. Just make sure you're back on track, and don't cross the white line. The white line seems to be pretty much the X for everything, so don't completely cross that white line. Shifting up into second, I did get stuck. I had a brain fart here. I did not shift up for some reason as early as I should have, but looking for the red marker again, using that to brake down into first, or actually leaving it in second, but using that as the turn in and the braking marker. Just a touch of brakes, just to slow the car a little bit. You don't want to run too wide here, grazing those curbs. Again, you don't want to run too wide here because this is the nasty green stuff. So watch out for that. If you go over that, it is going to cost you a whole lot of time. And for the next one, just past So just past the once you're like the full car is past this white point, then getting on the brakes, down into first, hard on the brakes. Again, this is another one you do not want to mess up. And then just releasing the brakes, turning in, grazing that curb. And then unwinding the wheel. This one, it's very easy to get an X on this one. If you came in a little too hot, run wide. You can use all the green stuff here, but it's very easy to cross that white line, get an X through this corner. So up into third, and again turning in earlier than you think. There's no real marker, just when you can kind of see the corner there. And this is another flat one, so you can cut the corner here a little bit. Just keep your tire inside the track, because you want to get yourself over to the left and make sure the car is straight. This is a very tricky corner. Leaving it in third, you could shift up into fourth for a very short time, but I like to leave it in third, and braking just in front of the white part of the start of the curb. Down into first gear, very important to brake very hard, get the car slowed in a straight line. If you turn the wheel too much, if you have not slowed the car enough, very easy to spin out here. Very easy to spin out, so watch out for the guys in front of you. And then grazing the curb, just releasing the brake slowly, and then picking up the throttle. Probably should have picked it up a little earlier than that, but there you go. And again, don't get too greedy though, because this is another easy one to get an X. You can use all of the green stuff here. And in fact, if you do get the X, if you do run that a little wide and come in a little hot, it will actually save you a little time. It will be good for your lap time, just won't be good for your safety rating. And yeah, that's a 146.9. Obviously my optimal is a 146.5. It is, however, pretty darn hard to string together all these corners in one lap and lace it all together. It is a tough track. So good luck out there. We'll run this out at full speed. See you next time.